What if the world has lied to you about greatness? What if everything you were told, that greatness is about titles, applause, money, or the approval of others, was nothing but smoke and illusion? Think about it. From the moment you were a child, society whispered definitions of success into your ear. Your parents might have said, get good grades, go to college, land a stable job. Teachers demanded you fit into their boxes. Friends compared you to others. Social media shouted that you are never enough unless you look a certain way, earn a certain amount, or display your achievements for strangers to applaud. Day by day, these messages carved themselves into your mind until you began to believe that greatness was something out there, something someone else had to give you. A promotion, a trophy, a compliment, 1,000 likes on a photo. But what if that was the biggest lie of all? The Stoics, the ancient warriors of the mind, stood against this lie thousands of years ago. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor burdened with the weight of ruling an empire, wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Seneca reminded us, "He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior." And Epictetus, once a slave with no possessions, no wealth, and no freedom, still carried himself with a strength that kings and generals traveled across lands to witness. These men understood a truth our modern world constantly forgets. The crown is not given, it is claimed. Greatness, in the Stoic sense, is not about dominating others. It is about refusing to be dominated by fear, doubt, or the empty opinions of strangers. It is not about noise or arrogance. It is about presence, discipline, and purpose. It is not something external to be won. It is an inner empire to be ruled. So let me ask you again, what if you've been chasing shadows while the real source of power has always been in your hands? Take a moment and look around at the world we live in today. Every scroll of your phone is a reminder of what you lack. Someone else looks richer, stronger, happier. Someone else seems to be ahead of you in the race. Someone else is living the life you think you should have. And so you compare, you compete, you shrink, you doubt yourself. You wait for approval. You ask silently, am I good enough? But here is the Stoic truth. Comparison is a prison, and you are the jailer. The moment you measure yourself against another man's yardstick, you chain your worth to his shadow. But when you decide to carry yourself as if you are already crowned, you break the chains. You no longer wait for permission to rise. You no longer ask the world to validate your power. You embody it. The Stoics whispered a radical message into history. Greatness is not what you own, but what you master. Not your possessions, not your reputation, not even your circumstances. What you master, your mind, your emotions, your discipline, your purpose. This is why Epictetus, though a slave, was freer than many emperors. Why Marcus Aurelius, though the ruler of Rome, bowed to his own journal each morning, writing reminders to stay humble, to act with justice, to control his mind. Why Seneca, though surrounded by luxury, warned that craving more recognition is poverty of the soul. They all knew. To act as if you are the best is not arrogance. It is awakening. It is walking into the world with the quiet authority of someone who knows his worth regardless of who notices. It is carrying yourself with dignity even when no one is watching. It is standing unshaken when storms come, because you have built your fortress within. So here you are. You've been told greatness is about followers, likes, applause. You've been conditioned to shrink in front of others' opinions. You've been waiting for the world to hand you a crown. But the Stoics call you to something different, something deeper, something eternal. They call you to wake up each morning and act, not as a beggar of respect, but as the source of it. To speak, not with desperation for attention, but with the calm weight of someone who knows his voice carries meaning. To live, not as if your presence is optional, but as if your very existence is a declaration of strength. Act as if you are the best, not to dominate, not to boast, not to shout, but to honor the greatness you were born with. And here's the truth. This awakening does not happen by accident. It does not happen just because you wish it. It happens because you decide daily to walk a different path. Today, I want to take you on that path. I want to share with you 5 Stoic lessons, not just ideas, not just quotes, but living tools you can practice every single day that will transform the way you carry yourself. These 5 lessons are the foundation of acting as if you are the best. 1. Rule your mind, or it will rule you. 2. Walk with quiet confidence, not loud pride. 3. Stand tall in adversity, because the best are forged in fire. 4. Master discipline, for the crown belongs to the consistent. 5. Live with purpose, because true greatness always serves more than itself. Each of these lessons is more than philosophy. They are anchors for a life of unshakable strength. Together we will dive into them, break them down, and bring them into your daily battles. So I ask you now, are you ready to stop waiting? Are you ready to stop shrinking, stop comparing, stop begging for permission to live boldly? Are you ready to claim the crown that has been yours all along? If the answer is yes, then this is your moment. Stand taller, breathe deeper, step into this journey with me. Because the greatest mistake you can make is to live as if your life was optional. It is not. It is necessary. It is powerful. It is chosen. And before we go further, I want you to pause. Like this video. Share it with a brother who needs to hear it. Write this in the comments right now. I act as if I am the best because I honor my own power. Say it. Write it. Breathe it. Let it sink into your bones. And subscribe to True Stoic Way, because here we don't just talk about greatness, we train it. Lesson 1. Rule your mind or it will rule you. The Stoics believed that the greatest empire a man can ever rule is not Rome, not Greece, not a nation, but his own mind. They knew that every victory and every defeat begins not out there in the world, but inside the walls of thought. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And he was right, because if you do not command your mind will command you. Imagine your life as a kingdom. Your decisions, your words, your actions are all decrees signed by the ruler who sits on the throne within. If that ruler is fear, then hesitation spreads through every corner of your kingdom. If envy sits there, your worth will shrink every time you see another man succeed. But if discipline and courage sit on that throne, your life will rise with unshakable clarity. The body follows the mind. The voice follows the mind. Even the way you carry yourself in silence begins with the authority of your inner ruler. And this is why the Stoics declared that the greatest conquest is not over armies, but over yourself. Modern science confirms what they knew. Your brain is not stone. It is alive, shaping and reshaping itself with every thought you repeat. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. When you think the same thought again and again, "I am not enough" or "I am unshakable," your brain strengthens that pathway like a river cutting deeper into the earth. Negative self-talk is not destiny, it is simply habit. But here is the hope. Just as rivers can be redirected, your thoughts can be reshaped. Each time you pause before reacting, each time you breathe in the middle of chaos, each time you challenge your fear on the page of a journal, you are carving a new river, teaching your brain a new way of being. Picture 2 men standing side by side. Both are insulted in the same moment. The first reacts instantly. His voice rises, his face burns red, and the words of a stranger rule him for the rest of the day. The second man pauses. He breathes. He lets silence stretch for just a heartbeat. And in that heartbeat, he remembers Epictetus. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. He chooses not to surrender his throne. He responds calmly, or perhaps he says nothing at all. He walks away unshaken. Who is the stronger man? The one who gave away his power, or the one who commanded himself? This is what mastery looks like, not the absence of emotion, but the ability to hold the reins when emotion rises. The Stoics were not dreamers. They gave us tools to practice this mastery. The first is simple but powerful. Pause and breathe. When someone offends you, when circumstances sting, do not give them the keys to your emotions. Stop. Breathe in deeply for 4 counts, hold for 4, release for 4. That small act creates a gap between what happens and what you do. And in that gap, reason can speak louder than impulse. The second tool is the journal. Each evening, sit with your strongest emotion of the day and put it onto paper. Ask yourself, was this feeling in my control? Did it serve me or did it enslave me? Marcus Aurelius did this daily. His writings were not meant for the world, but for his own training, his own discipline. If an emperor could humble himself before his own thoughts, so can you. The third tool is affirmation. And don't mistake this for empty words. Every time you declare, I rule my mind, I will not be ruled by it, you are training your brain, strengthening a new neural pathway, building the habit of authority over yourself. And finally, the Stoics teach us to focus only on what we control. This is the famous dichotomy of control. Your actions, your choices, your character, these are yours. The weather, the economy, the opinions of others, these are not. Waste no energy on what you cannot command. To do so is to abdicate your throne. At first, these practices feel small. A pause here, a line in a journal there, a whispered affirmation in the morning. But over time, these small acts accumulate. They reshape your mind. And then one day, you notice something. You walk into a room, and others feel it. They cannot explain it, but they sense a steadiness in you, a calm presence that does not shake. That is the power of a man who rules his mind. This is the first crown of greatness. Not wealth, not applause, not titles, but self-mastery. The Stoics remind us that the one who rules his mind can stand before kings, before enemies, before storms themselves, and remain unbroken. So carry this truth with you. Speak it, write it, live it. I rule my mind. I will not be ruled by it. This is your first step into greatness. This is the foundation of every victory to come. And once you have learned to sit firmly on the throne of your own mind, something remarkable happens. You no longer feel the need to shout. You no longer feel desperate to prove yourself. Confidence begins to flow quietly, naturally, without noise. And that brings us to the second Stoic lesson. Walk with quiet confidence, not loud pride. Lesson 2. Walk with quiet confidence, not loud pride. When most people think of confidence, they imagine loud voices, bold gestures, and endless self-promotion. They believe that to be the best is to be seen, to be heard, to be louder than everyone else in the room. But the Stoics understood a different truth. True confidence does not need to shout. It does not need to demand attention. It is not loud pride. It is quiet strength. It is the presence that speaks without words. Think of a mountain. It does not announce its height. It does not boast of its weight. It does not scream to prove its power. And yet when you stand before it, you feel its immovable strength. That is what real confidence looks like. It is mountain-like, solid, still. It does not need validation because it already knows its worth. The world teaches us that arrogance is power, that noise is strength, but the wise know better. Pride that needs to be noticed is weakness disguised as confidence. It burns hot and fast, consuming itself. True confidence burns steady. It is the quiet fire that gives warmth without needing to devour everything around it. History gives us proof. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire in the world. He commanded armies, wealth, and nations. And yet, in his private writings, he reminded himself daily to stay humble, to remember his mortality, to act with dignity rather than pride. Here was a man who could have shouted his greatness, who could have demanded worship, yet he chose the path of silence and humility. He led not by noise, but by presence. 2,000 years later, we still remember him not for boasting, but for embodying calm, steady authority. That is the difference between loud pride and quiet confidence. You can see the contrast everywhere. The man who needs to announce his success, to flaunt his possessions, to dominate every conversation. He looks powerful on the surface, but inside he is fragile, addicted to recognition. The man who carries himself with calm, who does not need to prove, who lets his silence speak louder than his noise, that is the man everyone remembers. Because confidence is not in the shouting, it is in the stillness. But how do we live this in practice? The Stoics gave us a discipline. Speak less. Mean more. When you speak, let your words carry weight. Do not talk to fill the air. Do not rush to prove your intelligence or status. Let your silence become your strength. The next time you are in a conversation, resist the urge to dominate. Listen deeply, and when you finally choose to speak, say something that carries purpose. People will hear the difference. Another practice is this. When provoked, do not respond with noise. Let your calm be your shield. When others try to pull you into petty battles, rise above. Confidence is not in winning arguments. It is in not needing to fight them at all. The man who can walk away without losing his dignity has more power than the man who screams to prove he is right. The benefits of this kind of confidence are profound. Psychologists have found that people who embrace quiet confidence experience less social anxiety. Why? Because they are not performing. They are not trying to impress. They are anchored in themselves, and that makes them naturally magnetic. People are drawn to them not because they chase attention, but because they radiate calm assurance. This is the paradox. The less you try to be noticed, the more others feel your presence. Try this simple exercise. The next time you enter a room, instead of thinking, "How can I stand out?" think, "How can I carry myself steadily?" Breathe slowly. Move with purpose. Make eye contact without force. Say little, but when you do speak, speak clearly. That is the discipline of quiet confidence. You will notice that people listen differently. They respect the man who does not need to sell himself, because his presence already sells itself. So let us seal this lesson with an affirmation. If this resonates with you, write it in the comments, speak it to yourself, carry it in your chest. My confidence is quiet. My strength is unshakable. Say it slowly, feel it, live it. This is your second crown, and it is heavier than the first because it is not about ruling others. It is about ruling the impulse to prove yourself. And remember this: confidence that depends on applause is fragile. Confidence that depends on silence is unbreakable. When you master quiet confidence, you free yourself from the exhausting chase for validation. You no longer need to be recognized to feel worthy. You already are. And here is the connection. Once you have quiet confidence, you are prepared for the storms of life. Because the man who does not need noise to feel strong is the same man who will stand tall when adversity comes. The one who is steady and calm will remain steady in chaos. And that brings us to the third Stoic lesson. To act as if you are the best, you must learn to stand tall in adversity, because the best are forged in fire. Lesson 3. Stand tall in adversity. Anyone can stand tall when the sky is clear, when the wind is gentle, when the path is smooth. But greatness is not revealed in easy seasons. It is revealed in storms. The Stoics believed that adversity is not a curse to be avoided, but a forge to be entered. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." These words were not abstract philosophy. They were a strategy for life. Obstacles are not walls meant to stop you. They are doors meant to shape you. Think of steel. Before it becomes strong, it must be tested by fire. Without heat, it remains soft. Without pressure, it bends too easily. But once forged, it becomes unbreakable. You are no different. The fires of adversity are not here to destroy you. They are here to shape you into something stronger, something sharper, something unshakable. Every trial is a chance to rise. Every hardship is an invitation to grow. And every storm is a classroom where you learn resilience. The world will test you. You will be misunderstood, doubted, betrayed. You will face losses, failures, setbacks that feel unbearable. But the Stoic way is not to curse these moments or run from them. The Stoic way is to stand tall in the middle of them. Adversity is unavoidable. What matters is whether you crumble or whether you rise. Epictetus knew this truth better than anyone. Born a slave, crippled in body, stripped of freedom, he had every excuse to live bitter and broken. Yet he refused. He turned his chains into lessons. He turned his pain into wisdom. So powerful was his strength of character that emperors and generals sought him out. The man who had nothing became a master of himself, and in doing so, he became freer than those who once owned him. This is what it means to act as if you are the best. Not arrogance, not hollow bravado, but the quiet dignity of someone who cannot be broken. To live this way, you must practice. Adversity cannot always be chosen, but it can be trained for. The Stoics often engaged in what they called voluntary discomfort. They would sleep on the floor, walk barefoot, fast for days, expose themselves to cold, not to punish themselves, but to strengthen their spirit. Why? Because comfort softens the mind. Discomfort sharpens it. When you choose hardship, real hardship loses its power to crush you. When you willingly face discomfort, life's storms no longer terrify you. They prepare you. You can practice this today. Skip a meal and notice that hunger cannot control you. Take a cold shower and feel your willpower harden. Sleep without a pillow and realize that luxury is not necessity. Each small act of voluntary discomfort builds a foundation of strength. You remind yourself that you can endure far more than you thought. And when life delivers trials, you did not choose. You stand ready, already trained to hold your ground. Standing tall in adversity is not only about what you do on the outside, but also how you carry yourself within. Picture this. The waves crash, the winds scream, the sky darkens, chaos surrounds you. But there you stand, straight, steady, calm, like a lighthouse in the storm. You do not panic. You do not collapse. You shine as a point of certainty in a world of chaos. People may not understand how you remain unshaken, but they cannot forget it. This image of calm strength is more powerful than any boast or display of pride. It is greatness embodied in silence. Let me ask you, what storms have you faced? What adversity has tried to break you, and what did it teach you? If you've faced storms and risen stronger, share your story below. Not for sympathy, not for validation, but to remind others that storms can be survived, that pain can become power, that obstacles can become the way. This is the heart of the Stoic message. Do not curse adversity. Do not shrink from it. Instead, rise within it. Let it be your training ground. Let it be your crown. The greatest among us are not those who avoided hardship, but those who faced it and became unshakable because of it. And here is the bridge. To stand tall in adversity, you cannot rely on fleeting courage. You need something deeper, steadier, unbreakable. That something is discipline. Because when storms come, it is not motivation that saves you. It is the daily habits that have already forged you. The next step in our journey is this: to master discipline, for the crown belongs to the consistent. Lesson 4. Master discipline. Freedom is not the absence of rules. Freedom is the presence of discipline. This is the paradox the Stoics understood long before science confirmed it. The man who follows every impulse, who eats when he feels like eating, who speaks when he feels like shouting, who rests when he feels like quitting. He is not free. He is a slave to comfort, to distraction, to weakness. But the man who builds discipline, who trains himself to act with intention rather than impulse, that man is free. Free from laziness, free from regret, free from the chains of his own weakness. Discipline is not a prison. Discipline is the key that unlocks freedom. Think of greatness not as a sudden spark, but as a slow fire. No one becomes the best overnight. No empire is built in a single day. Greatness is the compound effect of small acts, repeated daily, with consistency. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, still wrote in his journal every morning and evening, reminding himself to live with virtue, to resist temptation, to stay awake to his duty. He did not rise above the weakness of man by accident. He forged himself with discipline. Warriors, too, live by this truth. Their strength is not born on the battlefield. It is built in the quiet hours of training, in the sweat, in the repetition no one sees. By the time they step into war, victory is already decided, because discipline has already won the battle within. Modern science echoes this wisdom. Neuroscientists tell us that discipline reshapes the brain. Each time you resist an impulse, Each time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, your brain's circuits of self-control grow stronger. Dopamine, the chemical of reward, is not only triggered by indulgence, it can also be rewired to reward effort, persistence, and progress. Self-regulation is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Discipline, then, is not just a virtue. It is biology turned into power. The truth is simple. Motivation will fail you. Passion will fade. But discipline endures. Discipline is waking up when your body whispers to sleep. It is training when comfort invites you to rest. It is focusing when distractions demand your attention. It is choosing virtue when temptation lures you toward weakness. Discipline is the crown you place upon your own head, forged not by applause, but by repetition. So how do you practice discipline in daily life? Start small, but never stop. Choose one habit and commit to it. Rise early. Read one page of philosophy before you check your phone. Write one line in your journal each night. These are not small gestures. They are bricks in the fortress of your character. Over time, the small victories stack, the grooves deepen, and you become a man who does not need to negotiate with weakness. Build what I call a Stoic morning ritual. Wake up and breathe deeply, reminding yourself that today is not owed to you, but gifted to you. Read or reflect on a line of Stoic wisdom. Move your body, push-ups, a run, a stretch, to teach your mind that comfort does not rule you. Journal your intentions for the day. Where will you show courage? Where will you show patience? Where will you live with purpose? In less than 30 minutes, you will have already chosen discipline over chaos, order over weakness. And the tone of your day will shift because you have crowned yourself before the world even wakes up. Understand this. Discipline may feel like chains at first. You resist it, you fight it. But the longer you live with it, the more it frees you. Discipline frees you from the chaos of procrastination. It frees you from the pain of regret. It frees you from the shallow life of chasing comfort. Discipline creates a quiet authority, the kind of presence people feel when they look at you and see consistency carved into your soul. And now, let us seal this lesson. Speak it. Write it. Drop it in the comments if this resonates. My discipline is my crown. Say it and live it, because every small act of consistency is another jewel in that crown. You may not notice it today, but in years to come, others will see it shining in the way you live. Remember, this crown is heavier than gold because it is forged in effort. It is harder than steel because it is built from years of repetition. It is more precious than applause because no one can give it to you and no one can take it away. Only you can build it. Only you can wear it. And here is the connection. Discipline does more than strengthen your body or sharpen your mind. It prepares you for something greater than yourself. It prepares you to live with purpose. Because once you have mastered yourself, you are ready to serve something beyond yourself. And that brings us to the fifth Stoic lesson. To act as if you are the best, you must live with purpose. Because true greatness is never selfish. It always leaves a legacy. Lesson 5. Live with purpose. You can master your mind. You can walk with quiet confidence. You can stand tall in adversity. And you can live with daily discipline. But if all of that is only for yourself, you will feel an emptiness that no achievement can fill. The Stoics warned us that greatness pursued for ego alone is hollow. To live only for comfort, only for applause, only for survival is to live small. It is to climb a mountain and find nothing at the top but silence. True greatness is different. True greatness lives for something beyond the self. That is purpose. Marcus Aurelius, who could have drowned in luxury, wrote in his Meditations, "What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee." He understood that no man is an island. What strengthens the whole strengthens the individual, and what corrupts the whole eventually corrupts each of us. A life lived only for oneself dies with oneself, but a life lived with purpose endures beyond the grave. It becomes legacy. It becomes memory. It becomes eternal. Seneca reminded us that life's value is not measured in length, but in meaning. As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters. Epictetus, born in chains, left behind no fortune, no monuments, no army. Yet his words have shaped lives for centuries. He endured slavery and pain, but he transformed his hardship into wisdom that outlived him. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but his truest power lies not in the wars he fought, but in the reflections he left behind that still guide us. Seneca's letters continue to inspire men and women 2,000 years later because they were not written for himself alone, but for all who would come after. This is the proof. Purpose makes men immortal. But how do you discover your purpose? The Stoics would say, begin with questions. Ask yourself, why am I here? What am I building? What do I want my life to stand for when my name is only a memory? These questions are not to paralyze you. They are to awaken you. The man without purpose drifts, blown by every wind of circumstance, enslaved to every opinion. But the man with purpose stands like a lighthouse. He has direction. He has weight. He cannot be moved easily because his roots run deep. Start with a simple exercise. Write what I call a purpose statement. Take a page and write, "My purpose is," and let your pen move without fear. Perhaps your purpose is to raise your children with wisdom. Perhaps it is to build a craft that improves lives. Perhaps it is to embody courage so that others see what is possible. Do not chase perfection in your answer. Purpose is not discovered once. It is clarified daily. Return to this statement often. Refine it. Live into it. With time, it will harden into a compass that points you forward even in darkness. Living with purpose transforms everything. Struggle becomes sacred because it serves a greater goal. Success becomes meaningful because it contributes to something beyond your ego. Even suffering becomes fuel because it sharpens your role in the story you are writing. Without purpose, comfort is empty and victory is shallow. With purpose, even pain has value. Think of the candle. A candle that burns only for itself fades quickly, but a candle that lights others spreads its flame endlessly. Your purpose is your flame. The question is whether you will guard it only for yourself, or whether you will use it to light the world. Tell me in the comments, what is your purpose? Speak it aloud, write it, share it. Not because I need to hear it, but because declaring it strengthens it within you. The world does not need more noise. It needs more men and women anchored in purpose. And here is the beauty. Purpose does not cancel the first 4 lessons. It unites them. To live with purpose, you must rule your mind, for distraction will always try to break you. To live with purpose, you must walk with quiet confidence, for arrogance destroys meaning. To live with purpose, you must stand tall in adversity, for storms will always test your vision. To live with purpose, you must master discipline, for without consistency, even the noblest purpose remains a dream. Purpose is the crown that rests upon the other 4. It is the summit that gives the climb its worth. This is the final lesson, the hidden secret of acting as if you are the best. It is not arrogance. It is not selfish ambition. It is the awakening of a life lived for more than itself. Because when you live with purpose, you no longer chase validation. You no longer fear obscurity. You no longer tremble at the thought of death. Purpose is eternal. Purpose makes you unshakable. Purpose makes you the kind of man or woman whose presence will be felt long after your voice is gone. So remember this. Greatness without purpose is empty, but greatness with purpose becomes immortal. Live as if your life matters, because it does. Live as if your choices shape the world, because they do. Live as if you were born not just to survive, but to serve, to inspire, to leave the world stronger than you found it. That is purpose. That is the final crown. And now I ask you, what will your life stand for? We have walked through 5 Stoic lessons together. 5 crowns that are not given by the world, but forged within you. Rule your mind, for the one who does not command his thoughts is already a prisoner. Walk with quiet confidence, for true power does not need to shout. Stand tall in adversity, for storms are not meant to break you, but to shape you. Master discipline, for consistency is the fire that builds freedom. And live with purpose, for a life without meaning is a flame that burns out too soon, but a life anchored in purpose burns beyond the grave. These are not just principles, they are anchors, they are weapons, they are shields. They are the architecture of a life carried with dignity and strength. And now the choice is yours. You can live small, bowing to fear, shrinking before the opinions of others, waiting endlessly for permission to rise. Or you can live as if the crown is already on your head. You can carry yourself each day with the quiet, unshakable authority of someone who knows his worth. You can act not as a beggar of respect, but as the source of it. The world will try to convince you to wait for recognition, to wait for the right moment, to wait for someone else to crown you. But the Stoics whisper a different truth. Greatness is not given. Greatness is chosen, and it is chosen not once, but daily. Every morning you wake up, you are faced with this decision. Will I rule my mind, or will I let my mind rule me? Will I walk with quiet confidence, or will I waste my energy proving myself to others? Will I stand tall in adversity, or will I crumble? Will I live with discipline, or will I surrender to comfort? Will I live with purpose, or will I drift without meaning? These questions are not theoretical. They are the battles you fight each day, and the way you answer them determines whether you rise as the best, or whether you shrink into the ordinary. The Stoics remind us, the crown is not awarded, it is claimed. No one will hand it to you. No ceremony will declare you ready. You must place it upon your own head, not out of arrogance, but out of responsibility. Responsibility to yourself. Responsibility to the greatness you were born to embody. Because you were not born to shrink. You were not born to live as if your presence does not matter. You were born to rise. You were born to stand tall. You were born to carry yourself as if you are the best. So let us seal this journey with one final affirmation. Speak it, write it, breathe it into your chest until it becomes part of you. I rise daily as the best. I honor my mind, my strength, my purpose. This is not just a sentence, it is a decision. It is a vow. It is the crown you wear each day whether anyone sees it or not. And now, I call you to action. Do not let these words remain only in your ears. Let them take root in your life. Like this video if it struck something in you. Comment your affirmation to declare your commitment. Share it with someone who needs to be reminded that they are not powerless, that they too can rise. And above all, subscribe to True Stoic Way, because here, we are building more than a channel. We are building a community, a brotherhood, a global movement of men and women who refuse to bow to fear, who refuse to wait for permission, who carry themselves each day with dignity, strength, and fire. Together, we rise. Together, we remind the world that greatness is not noise, not pride, not luxury, but self-mastery lived daily. If this message spoke to you, join us. Because you can live small, or you can live as if you were already crowned. The choice is yours. And from this day forward, I hope you choose to rise.